And welcome back to Who Would Win. And it's the monthly Bleach Who Would Win um, captains versus said opponent. And we've reached Squad 11's Kenpachi Zaraki. Now, with a lot of the other captains, I didn't have much of a problem finding relatively decent opponents for them or equivalent opponents for them. Like with Tozan, I wanted to face a blind fictional character with abilities. I just felt that would work out fine. With Yamamoto, I wanted him to face a stronger, older guy. Um, with Komamura, I wanted to face a canine-esque opponent. So I generally had no real issues finding opponents for individuals. I do take requests. It hits a guy. I was death. It was an ice type kind of situation. But with Kenpachi, it's not that there aren't a lot of berserkers in anime and fiction and things along those lines. The issue became that Kenpachi, while technically a berserker, is also just a warrior and a swordsman and just pure raw power. So it was a matter of trying to find an opponent who was pure raw power, or just something or someone who represented that like Kenpachi does. And I've seen a lot of different. I had couple different suggestions. I had someone suggest Alucard from Hellsing. What was the character's name? August from Azura's Wrath. I was thinking for a while using, I believe it's Kaido from One Piece, but problem with Kaido is we just don't know enough about him to do a proper who would win. August, even I could tell August was too strong. Kenpachi couldn't. Would there be no reason to do that fight? He just couldn't win. But Corey Jackson, thank you, suggested Tacticmon or Tactimon, depending on the pronunciation is. Now, obviously, by the name, he's a Digimon. I'm like, okay, let me look this guy up. And I looked him up, and as you can see from the thumbnail, I'm like, okay, appearance-wise, he definitely suits the fight. But let me read up on this guy. Now, obviously, there's not a huge amount of lore to go into, but he's a warrior-type Digimon. Doesn't have a specified level, but if you looked at this guy, you could tell he's either ultimate or mega level Digimon. And he's said to have the power, his sword anyway, is said to have the power to slice a star in two. Cut a star in half, which he also doesn't fight with the sword very often. When he pulls it out, it's basically symbolizing the collapse of a star. So he doesn't use the sword as much as say he should or would, only against opponents he feels are worthy of the sword. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking back to Kenpachi. I'm like, this seems like a good fight. So this is the fight. Now let's go over Tacticmon real quick, because Kenpachi I don't need to write anything down for. Most of the Bleach characters I already know pretty much everything they can do. So Tacticmon, again, level is unknown. I'd guess just giving by the look of detail on a lot of his art and stuff like that, I guess mega level. Again, his sword is known as is called Sword of Storms, which is strong enough to cut through a star, or cut a star in half. Battles without it, though, drawing a sword only when the battle suits him. He's a master tactician and strategist. Now he has many, many different abilities. Now let me see here. Where was the one? Primary tactic is one of the moves he can use is pretty much the only real move he uses without his sword. Besides, punches and kicks and things along those lines. He flips, and basically the gun muzzles on his back fire massive blasts of explosions of energy, basically. So he's got apparently like gun muzzle looking things on his back. Now, when actually using his sword, when striking the ground once, he uses the Earth Shaker, which basically causes an earthquake. When striking the ground twice, or stabbing the ground twice, he can use the Tectonic Tremor, which summons 100 dead warriors. When striking the earth or stabbing the earth 3 times, he collapses the surrounding land in a shockwave. Now I'm going to try to get some of these names right. Sano Tachikai, I believe it's Sano Tachikai, or Chitsukaku. He stabs the ground 3 times, but instead of collapsing the ground, he explodes the ground. With using the ultimate tactic, he coalesces all energy into the sword for a downward slash. Now, I would say this is the attack that can slice a star, except he has an attack that's called Star Splitter, basically. So I would guess this is just a really powerful energy strike attack. With again these names, Gano Tachi Goryunoko, he slashes 5 times to create deadly energy shockwaves. With Monotachi Rikudo, I might have misspelled. Oh, wait. Rikudo Riku or Riki. He does 3 slashes to create a massive vortex. Now, where the vortex leads to, who knows? It's just a massive vortex that sucks in whatever whatever is near it. Or one of our primary tactic. He has a penetrating blast, which is simply just a forward thrust with an energy blast added into it. Tenshuku, or Tenshu Katu, or something like that. Thrusts sword into the ground and creates a mountain range, more or less. And finally, the Hoshiyari, or something like that. Basically, Star Split. That, I would guess, is the attack that you can use to split a star with. But obviously, he's not invincible. I mean, I didn't really look up his history in like the shows because screw Digimon Fusion. Because that episode, that series, I think I watched like 2 episodes of it. That series sucks. Just yay, we got this thing called Yggdrasilmon, which is supposed to be like one of the god, like a legitimate god Digimon. Yeah, let's just throw him. Oh yeah, he's just this roar. I'm a dragon. Roar. Oh, you've defeated me. Yeah, no. That's not, you can't just completely discard levels like that. But anyway. So yeah, Tacticmon. Now, Kenpachi Zaraki. Kenpachi Zaraki, first off, stands at like around 6'5" or 6'6", easily in like I think the 100 and something pound range. He's one of the bigger Bleach members. He's violent prone, but he's also surprisingly perceptive. Let's make that clear. Despite being loving battle, loving just a good fight, he's amazingly perceptive, able to pinpoint weaknesses in an opponent, able to change his strategy up on the fly if he needs to, able to adapt, evolve during combat. So he's not book smart, but he's combat smart. He is a master swordsman to the umpteenth degree. There's probably no one in the Soul Society that is a better swordsman than him, arguably so. Just because it's his primary tactic. His sword is longer than a standard katana. It's like a kodachi, so it's about 5 feet, I think, in length in terms of the blade, which fits in. He wields it with one hand, only going to 2 hands when he really feels the need to go kendo and overpower an opponent. He's famed for he can walk on air because in the later part of the series due to better Ryatsu control. But his Ryatsu, his spiritual energy, his actual energy, his aura, is massive. Is massive by even captain standards, who are supposed to have large Ryatsu, to the point where it's basically shown to basically affect the entire surrounding area, almost like a giant explosion of power. It oftentimes has a skull a skull in it to show off like his bloodlust or something along those lines. Man, he's amazingly durable, able to handle point blank energy blasts, gunfire without really taking any noticeable damage. But that being said, when he is damaged, he's got amazing endurance, durability, and pain tolerance, being able to just keep taking. When he was fighting Noratora, for instance, the 6-armed Spada, he got punctured through the gut, and he just laughed it off and kept fighting. He got slashed across the chest, laughed it off, kept fighting. He got cut on the neck, and it didn't wasn't truly life threatening. He did say that at this rate I might actually die. All right, well I'm gonna have to use kendo. A further example is when he used his Bankai for the first time. His arm broke from his ripped itself off because there's just so much power going through his body. His body couldn't handle it at the time. But he was able to completely keep going after that. So he is a tough son of a bitch. Also stronger than he looks. Able to lift freaking Gerard Valkyries, who at the time was the Stern Ritter who had a megamorph ability. Basically, he was able to convert damage into size and power. So he was able to lift him up and just topple him to the ground. Looking at his size, you have to guess he weighs probably somewhere in the 100-ton area, give or take. So Kenpachi can do that. He's surprisingly fast and has good reflexes. Now, for a long time he didn't know Shikai. He now knows his Shikai and Bankai by the end of the series. Now, we don't know the name of his Bankai, and we only saw his Bankai in use one time. There is a 10-year time skip at the very end of the series. So, like what we will do with Rukia, and when we get to her bout, we're going to allow Kenpachi we're not going to like allow him like full maximum power because we don't know the full extent of his Bankai. We're going to allow him though enough control of the Bankai that using it's not going to overwhelm his body and like cause his arm or limbs to rip off from the sheer power coursing through it. So while he's not going to get any more significant power than what he demonstrated or what we can theorize from what he demonstrated and what we know about Bankai, he will be allowed to use his Bankai more freely than he did in the original, canon. But that being said, his Shikai is called Nozarashi, activated with Command Drink, which turns into a giant battle axe meat cleaver. Take your pick on what that is. Which is so powerful that he effortlessly slashed through a meteorite that would have wiped out the entire Serite, which is another plane of reality, or another dimension, depending how you look at it. Which pretty much he was able to wipe out a mass extinction level meteor with a single strike from the sword. He was able to cut through literal space itself. When the Sternritter V, and I know not everyone who watches, I actually had someone comment on the Tozen versus Shroud video that he didn't know who Tozen was and suggested I put if I could edit, trust me, I'd be editing every one of these videos with images and stuff like that. So he suggested, so he didn't know who the character was. So just a Sternritter V, known as Gremmy, I can't remember his last name. Sternritter V, with the Visionary, could literally summon anything he wanted from his imagination. He literally created a void of space, like outer space, vacuum, and Kenpachi cut through that. It's theorized that Nozarashi's power, first off, is raw power, but also it can pretty much, there's nothing it can't cut down until it got to Gerard Valkyrie, when he only nicked Gerard's sword and couldn't cut through his shield. But to be fair, those are like Ryatsu enhanced or energy enhanced weapons, specialized weapons. In terms of like physical, in terms of actual physical structures and mass, there didn't seem to be a necessary limit to what Kenpachi could cut down. We can theorize that if he did that effortlessly with his eye patch on, which suppresses his power, that with his eye patch off, he probably could cut down. Let's see, it was definitely a extinction level asteroid that Garmin brought down, or meteor. We'd have to assume, if we're going to scale it up, that Kenpachi and Shikai with his eye patch off could probably take out a small planetoid like a moon, like Earth's moon. I feel Kenpachi, if he truly wanted to, might be able to could probably cut that down. But then he activated his Bankai later on, which is revealed that which a lot of people, I'm not going to spoil that part because some things deserve to be found out later on, which was one of the most unique Bankais we had seen in the series, which completely altered him physically, made him look like an Oni, a Japanese demon ogre, and turned his battle axe cleaver into more like a jagged meat cleaver. However, Kenpachi loses his sense of reasoning and things along those lines. But again, we're assuming that he can at least direct it now. It's like the Hulk, direct the anger, control the anger to a degree, or the rage. So with that power, he displayed so much extra power. Bankai is said to increase your abilities 5 to 10 times. If we were to highball it at 10 times, Kenpachi, because even Gerard Valkyrie, the person he was fighting, the opponent he was fighting, the giant, stated that his Ryatsu did increase a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. His energy increased. He was able to literally just stop a punch with his bare teeth, with his mouth, and then rip this monster's arm off at the shoulder with no effort whatsoever. And then cut him again through his shield, the thing he couldn't cut through originally, and then from a distance cut through him completely. He was cutting with such power and ferocity and speed that he was able to cut him with this little meat cleaver. There was probably no... From a size comparison, Nozarashi looks to be about twice as long as Kenpachi is tall, so about 12 feet in length. The cleaver would look to be no more than about 4 feet. And he was able to cut down this mammoth who was clearly easily over 200 feet tall. So the question now becomes, before we compare... I'll explain my argument when we get to the point being, we got to get to this fight, because I'm now already 15 minutes into this video, I've been just going off on explanations about the character. Anyway, so in the puppy, she's like, oh, I'm going to chew on this. I'm going to chew on what's left of the teddy bear. So the way this fight breaks out is Kenpachi is transported to the digital world. I feel it's just the most likely scenario. And he's there and he's trying to figure out, like, what the hell happened? And just, they maybe sees like Digimon war fight, and he sees this Digimon standing, this individual standing here with a sword, leading an army, and he can sense the power coming. He's like, you seem pretty strong. He's like, you want to go a few rounds? Like, I don't know what Tactimon sounds like, but Tactimon is like, who are you? And it's like, Squad 11, Kenpachi Zaraki, Squad 11 captain of the 13th Court God Squad. It's like, I'm Tactimon, and blah, 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 blah. And then Kenpachi would obviously initiate the fight, coming in, swinging with the sword. Now, I do believe just in the initial fight, Tactimon can block the blows just with his physical armor and body. He's just ching, 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 ching. He flips over Kenpachi, uses his primary tactic ability, and just explodes in front of Kenpachi. Kenpachi's overall fine, though. Maybe he's got a little singe, but he's like that. But he's just, he's smiling. He's like, hey, that's a lot of power you got there, buddy. And then, sees the sword. The sword comes through the smoke. He blocks it again, only this time the sword scrapes his armor just a little bit. He's a little surprised by this. However, Kenpachi's hand comes through the smoke again, catches him, and then just throws him back into like the cliff he's on. Just, it's like, come on, is that all you got? You gonna draw that sword or not? And then comes in again. It's like I don't draw. I only draw my sword when I feel against worthy opponents. You have yet to prove yourself worthy. And then the fight continues again. He's using Tactimon would use strategy in combat against Kenpachi, maybe using a couple of moves or something like that. But Kenpachi would eventually adapt to it, and like with Nuratora, get used to the hardness of his armor, and eventually actually just cut through the armor. And Tactimon immediately retreats, kind of like Nuratora did when he was surprised. It's like he cut through my armor. It's like, and then you see the energy just moving around. Kenpachi uses energy like a weapon. He's just moving the energy around his body. It's like this individual is dangerous. It's like, but the warrior in me can't help but feel excited. So he goes like, congratulations, Kenpachi Zaraki. He's like, you're getting what you wanted. You've gotten me to draw my sword. And then he just unleashes the sword of the storms. And Kenpachi, being a very in-depth warrior, can sense the power coming off this blade, and he's just getting engaged. Yeah, that's a great feeling. Oh, this is gonna be great. And then they clash. Now, in an initial clash, they're going to be pretty equal. But as the fight's going to drag on, base form Kenpachi without the eye patch or Nozarashi, he's going to be put on the back pedal. He's not going to be on the winning side of this fight. He's going to start being pushed back. He's going to be, it's like, I can't hold him. And then he maybe gets a cut on him. I keep saying it's like. So then Tactimon just like, I keep saying it's just like, I don't like saying that all the time because it just makes me sound like I'm just overexcited, which I am. I'm enjoying doing this, but I'm trying not to say that as much. So Tactimon would fall back and use probably one of his first techniques, the Earth Shaker, which creates the earthquake. However, and Kenpachi would probably shake it off, but get up in the air, and how he's avoiding it. And I'm saying, God, that's anyway. Kenpachi's in the air, and Tactimon sees this, and he's surprised that he can just stay in the air. He's like, yeah, and it's like the reishi in this area is a lot different than the Soul Society Earth, but it's still reishi nonetheless. And then comes back in, and they clash again with the sword. Kenpachi's doing a little better now, but he's still on the power of the Sword of Storms is just a bit too much for base form Kenpachi to handle. So we go to Tactimon stabs the ground again and summons the 100 army of the dead. Kenpachi's like, really? Hiding behind others is such a coward's way to fight. Although Tactimon's like thinking of a different tactic to use against Kenpachi, because this is a man who can hide, who can just avoid his ground-based attacks in the air, and so it is clearly not weak. So while he's doing it, all of a sudden he just feels the energy coming, and he just hears like, drink Nozarashi. No, actually, no, he wouldn't do that. Yeah, he just see Kenpachi carving through, eye patch off now all of a sudden, and just carving through them. It's like Tactimon feels the spike in energy. Like, what's this? It's like his energy just went through the roof. And just see Kenpachi just plowing through them. Comes in again. I wouldn't say he damages the sword, but the amount of force he has probably like nicks Tactimon's armor. So it's like, come on, is that all you got? And then now Tactimon's like, okay, I can't. This guy's not someone I can fuck around with. So now Tactimon's like, nope, I'm gonna just send you away now. Just uses, instead of using the ultimate tactic, he uses, oh crap, the vortex one, where it's the 6/ something the vortex. Kenpachi training grounds this, but he's getting sucked in. So now it's like, you're tough, but you're not the first guy to try to suck me into another vortex of pain or something like that. Referencing Remy as he goes, drink, Nozarashi, and then I think he honestly just cuts the vortex in half. I think because we've seen that he can cut basically the immaterial in half. He cut a void of space. So he cut right through that. So to say he can't cut a vortex of nothingness or wherever that vortex is going, I'd say would be an inaccurate statement. I feel he can do that with just in Shikai alone, plus his eye patch off. So he's at full power, theoretically speaking. Now Tactimon's like, what the hell is he? He's like, no one's ever done that. Now he's just like, okay, now I need to just take you out. Tries to power stab Kenpachi. Kenpachi blocks the Nozarashi, bats him away, comes down again. Now this time, he doesn't destroy the Sword of the Storms, but he nicks it. And that scares the piss out of Tactimon for a brief second. He nicked the sword. Who the hell nicks the sword? It's like, that's it. And then he just he uses the coalesce camera, the ultimate tag, coalesce so much energy in his blade. Again, not the Star Splitter, mind you. But they clash both. It's like, yeah, Kenpachi's like, yeah, and it's like, and then they clash. Boom. Tactimon's probably lost a little bit of armor. He's injured, but Kenpachi's hurt now. Kenpachi is bleeding and just he's leaning over. I was like, and now Tactimon, despite being scared, is also kind of enjoying himself too, more than likely. It's like, you have definitely been aware of the opponents, but a long time since I've had to fight this hard. And but it's over. It's like, and then Kenpachi just is like, yes, it's been so long. I can't remember the last time I felt such elation against you. I think I can fight with no restraints at all. It's like, what? He's still holding back? And then he just hears the word Bankai. Or actually, that's I can see Kenpachi saying Bankai too. Everyone's like, Bankai or Bankai. And then just the energy involves, and he goes into the Oni form. And again, his Ryatsu doesn't increase very much, but it does increase. So again, Tactimon would sense the energy, but he senses that it didn't increase very much. However, just looking at Kenpachi and sensing the aura off Kenpachi, he can immediately tell that Kenpachi is not the same guy he was. So now Tactimon's like, okay, I gotta think of a plan. It suddenly raises that mountain range, but that does nothing as Kenpachi literally just slices right through there and just smashes through. The strike for that blade probably continues to scream forward and almost slices Tactimon in half. I mean, at this point now, he just realized, I'm missing my hand. So Tactimon's like, and then they clash again. But Kenpachi at this point is physically just dominating him. Just now Tactimon's just it's like and you used to get this Oni laughing. Kenpachi's dude. So now it comes down to this: the final confrontation. Now Kenpachi is not going to have the same. His Bankai is not going to have the same effect on him as it did in the can, as we're giving him a little leeway with this. But they're going for the final strikes. Just the Star Splitter for Tactimon. Oop, hold on, want this leg? Get the leg. The Star Splitter for Tactimon, and there's no actual attack. It's just one final and Kenpachi can probably sense that he's putting his all in, so Kenpachi's going to put his all in. So they're going to go for that final strike, and they're going to clash, and boom! Now, after the entire power struggle and battle of that, which would be intense and vicious and brutal and visceral and amazing, the dust clears. And basically, it comes down to who is the person who's not necessarily still standing, but who's going to drop after having that moment of just, that warrior's respect passing between the two of them. And just like, that was fun. It's like, yeah, it was. And then who's going to be the guy who drops first from that? Well, I'm going to have to say it's going to go like that. After this, because like, you're going to see Kenpachi and you're going to see Tactimon, their faces, and they both laugh. And Kenpachi's going to say, that was such a rush. And then Kenpachi goes down. The reason I say this is not because I don't think Kenpachi is capable of actually the same level of strength that Tactimon is. I actually think he is, believe it or not. And the reason I say that is because of this. Because right now we have to lowball that feat he did with the meteorite in the Soul Society with Gremmy. That was a lowballed feat with his Shikai alone. He was not at full power. He was not even using his full strength. You can tell he was just swiping at the meteorite. That wasn't even his full strength when he wasn't winded or anything when he cut that meteorite down. So we have to assume just that Shikai, he can take out a small planetoid like a moon. Now you scale that up at full power first off with just Kenpachi alone. No, actually full power in Shikai, small move. Scale it up about 10 times if we're highballing it with his Bankai, because again, increased in power, and he can do it from range. You would have to make the argument that because of the way a star is actually, physically constructed, it's burning gas. So from an actual physical standpoint of cutting through something, cutting a star in half is not a big deal. From the actual mass density, overall power in a star, that's a different thing entirely. But the problem with that is is not that Kenpachi doesn't have the power to do so, is the fact that what's the best way for me to put this? Is that, first up, Tactimon had more range to be able to use that kind of ability, which is probably why he's able to do so, because obviously getting near a star is something none of these guys can actually do. But also in the sense that Kenpachi, we have to assume, might have that power, whereas Tactimon actually does have that power. If nothing else, if he can't cut a star down, he could definitely take out a planet with a strike. I would definitely say that. But yeah, a star is very. Well, I do think it's possible Kenpachi is actually that strong. I have to go with what I know about the character, and I know Tactimon can cut a star in half. Whereas Kenpachi, I can only theorize can cut a star in half. But that being said, this fight is damn close in my opinion. Damn close. I'm going to give this about 55 to 45 in favor of Tactimon. In the end, Tactimon is actually going to beat Kenpachi more often than Kenpachi is going to beat Tactimon. But it's not by much. It's about by a 10% margin. So, yeah, as much as because I could have easily rigged a match for Kenpachi to win. I mean, hell, I didn't rig it with Bui, but he did win against the Bui, and when I did that fight, you can check out how I thought that fight would go down. But yeah, I think Tactimon does win it majority, but not by much. So 55 to 45 in favor of Tactimon. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Sorry this video went a bit longer. I had to correct my grammar a couple times and just, going over everything I know about Kenpachi. And, the fight playing out the way it does. So, yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. If you have ideas for who will win, Star Wars, superhero, what if, magic, anything I do on the channel, what ifs. I think I said it already. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of I haven't done Star Wars or magic videos in a while. I don't do trailer reactions right now, again, because I can't put the damn video on the screen. If I can't do that, what's the point of me doing reactions? Anyway, and yeah, so tomorrow will be Spider-Man Homecoming. There will be a What If tomorrow. Do I have any other plans? There will not be a magic video tomorrow because I'm doing the pre-release on Saturday, and I'll have a overall overview of the pre-release in the set on Saturday. And, just standard stuff I do over the weekend. Dragon Ball Z vlog, What If, or no, Dragon Ball Z vlog, and box office. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you folks next time.